Maybe we can have a little competition after. You can record yourself throwing 10 darts from the halfway line, try and hit the crossbar.
Yeah,
I'll do the same.
I think we can really start fighting for top 6 and beyond. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Do you see yourselves doing that this season?
But I didn't drink much uni.
Yeah. Sure.
That's what I want to be. That's what I want to be. And,
A winger.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hello and welcome to the Much Ado About Rugby podcast, your weekly rugby podcast where we chat everything about rugby. In today's episode, we have BECK CUTTING, Worcester Warriors hooker and ex-England Under-20s World Cup finalist with England. We chat today with Beck about the England Under-20s World Cup in 2018, as well as Worcester Warriors and their future potential, and also what Beck's future holds in rugby and what rugby holds for him. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and also follow our Instagram page at Much Ado About Rugby so you don't miss any more exclusive rugby content. Hello and welcome back to the Much Ado About Rugby podcast where we chat about everything rugby. Today, we have a very special guest with us. Welcome, BECK CUTTING. How are you today, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Excited for it.
Yeah. That's what we want to hear, Beck. That's what we want to hear. It is exciting, isn't it? We're just as excited, mate. Don't worry.
Well, just a little bit of an intro for Beck. So Beck's currently a hooker at Worcester Warriors, the Premiership club. Also a former England Under-20s World Cup player and finalist. Very much a regular now in the Worcester Warriors setup since COVID, really. So yeah, once again, thank you for joining us. Very quickly, a really close game yesterday for those of you who might have seen it, Exeter versus Worcester. Without meaning to touch on it too much, Beck, you're slightly distraught. And with
the pain on your face there when Max mentioned the game.
And a rather sore neck as well, I think. But what's your verdict on that game? And how did you play? What would you rate your performance out of 10?
That's a nasty question. One thing we say at Worcester is we don't want to drop below 7 out of 10, so I'll give myself a 7 out of 10. It's a safe one, isn't it? Yeah, what can I say about it? Straight in. I mean, with the new coaching setup, we're moving further and further in the right direction, I think, especially against, last year, Exeter champions of pretty much everything, weren't they? They were unbelievable, and we put out a really good performance yesterday. Frustrating we couldn't take all the points, but I thought it was a good showing, to be honest, and it was a good game. I mean, yeah. I've heard from a lot of spectators they enjoyed it, so
yeah.
In a bonus point against Exeter, even if it's 4 tries, losing, that's something, isn't it? So, I mean, like you say, they are double European and Premiership champions, so it's always going to be tough. But no, we think you gave a great showing, so not to get up your ass too much, but
okay, awesome. Well, I think we're going to start off with a few quick fire questions, just to get over the loss of yesterday, obviously. So we've got a couple of quick fire questions, and what we'd like you to do is just give your answer that comes to straight to the top of your head. First thing you think of. I'm sure the first thing you want to do the morning after a big game. But yeah, so hopefully you're ready. So we're going to start now. So the first question is, what would you rate Duncan Weir's afro out of 10?
7.
What would you do if you weren't a rugby player?
Be a teacher.
Play for England or win the Premiership?
Win the Premiership with Worcester.
That to be fair, that's
with
a
Worcester.
tough
I'd want to win the Premiership.
Yeah. Rugby idol.
Paul Sackey.
Really? I'll come on to that later. Mackie, go.
Who's going to win the Six Nations?
England.
Yes.
And finally, beer of choice.
So we're beer. Not really a massive, probably a Carlin.
You heard Burton on Trent, man.
I mean, I'm more of a cider or an IPA person, to be honest. But
what's your IPA of choice?
I like the Elvis juice from Brewdog.
Have you tried neck
Brewdog.
oil?
I haven't. No, not yet.
That's a good one. That's a really good.
Might have to send you the link for some of them. They're really nice.
Yeah, neck oil is good.
Yeah, we actually have like a low-key partnership with a local brewery called Bedlam.
a one-off,
Nice.
a one-off thing.
Some really nice ones as well. So we'll send you the links after. So
Yeah, do that.
why Paul Sackey? Obviously, he's ex-Wasps, right?
Yeah, I know. So I grew up in Maidenhead, to the age of 6. My parents supported the Wasps, and I remember going to one of their games, and Paul Sackey, I think, had a stormer, and I was there like, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be. And
A winger.
yeah, exactly. Scoring tries. I mean, who doesn't want to score tries? To be fair, but nah. So that's why. So yeah, Paul Sackey. And if it wasn't Paul Sackey, it would have been Augustin Creevy. But Paul Sackey.
What a player! And you're playing against you get to play against him now. He's
Yeah,
a London Irish.
I actually got bit of a fanboy, to be honest. After the London Irish game, I asked him for a photo.
Really? What's
Fair
he
enough,
like? What's he
mate.
like?
We'd all do the same thing.
Yeah, he's good. He was definitely, when we were scrumming against each other, he was definitely confident about himself. He was there like, he kept saying to the ref, this bloke's messing around. I was like, well, you're messing around. Go on now.
Bit of a joker.
You can never trust the RGs, can you?
Ooh, I wouldn't say that.
Well, I'm not really saying anything.
Come on,
No.
don't do that.
I'm not being like that. It's fine.
Well, awesome. I think on that, we'll move on to our first topic. So we really wanted to talk to you a bit about like university to pro level, and that kind of sort of transition. So I guess the first thing I want to ask you is like, why did you go to uni, and why did you not just go straight in at pro rugby?
That's a really good question. So when I was younger, I always wanted to do medicine, but I think that was something that was driven by my parents rather than me. And then I was like, well, I want to do rugby and to uni because my cousin went to Bath. You might know him, Max and Bruno. He's in charge of the fight night.
Oh, Bruno recutting.
Yeah, mate, he's my cousin.
Oh, right.
Didn't he go to our school?
He went to Cranbrook as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
and
went to school.
Tom and Frankie, my cousins as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is a connection and a half.
so he was telling me how good Bath was. So just wanted to go to Bath. My levels didn't go exactly to plan, but I managed to get in through clearing.
That's pretty good clearing. Get into Bath, yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Bath, and my mum was all about getting a degree. So they're both really like done education all their lives. And mum actually, once I joined Worcester, started doing voluntary work, education for Worcester Warriors for like the youth, and then they actually offered her a job to be the education officer for the entire club. So she's in charge of everyone's education at Worcester, and she's like, well, you got to get a degree, Beck.
Set a good example.
So I went to Bath, and yeah, that's why I went. So it's a really good thing. I'm really happy I'm doing it. I've split my final year, so I got my dissertation this year, which is a bit long. But,
and how do you find it balancing like the work and full-time professional rugby player alongside writing a dissertation and doing all that? You must be knackered after every training session, after every match.
I mean, I know a lot of people who've done it, but for me, I'm good friend. I say I'm very friendly with a couple of lecturers. Like they're very helpful to me. So like my personal tutor and one of my lecturers for my module, so they've been really helpful. But the thing is, you actually do have a lot of spare time, but it's mostly about are you feeling physically and mentally up for it when you sit down to do it? It's like
you must be pretty knackered after games and stuff, but then having to go do work and stuff is like I can be bothered to do like essays. Like sometimes I'd be like, I'll just sack it off. So after doing like a proper Premiership game, probably quite difficult.
Well, I've got a big day of dissertation work to do after this. To be fair, so I got up nice and early, prep myself. Yeah, it is hard, but it's definitely doable. I know, there's so many boys at the club that are doing like financial degrees, like financial advisor stuff, like all that kind of jazz. And they if they can all do it, then I mean, dissertation should be all right.
What about playing for like Bath Uni? What was that like? Did you play at freshers level? And I'm guessing you played for like first team in first year and stuff.
Yeah. So I played for uni for my first 2 years. the first year, obviously we had Doughty at Bath as well, Maxon, and he was,
Yeah.
you know, he's a legend at the club, to be fair. So a lot of the time I was warming the bench and you know, keeping nice and warm on the cold days away, like Leeds, Beckett, and that. But in the second year, it was more difficult because I had more involvement at Worcester. I had more, so I was in the England U20s squad, so I was going away with them, and then so I couldn't really establish myself as someone who could start because I wasn't ever at training.
Yeah.
So obviously moving to and fro from all these
Were you
different
just
clubs, I ended up just like obviously the coaches thought I had the talent to be in the team, but like I was never around long enough to actually warrant starting. So it was one of them ones.
Was it more like you were just like playing if you were available, but then training with like Worcester and England and 20s and stuff?
Well, so I was based in Bath for the first 2 years. So I lived in uni accommodation first year, and then shared a flat with some of my mates in the second year. So it was more of like I train at Bath, then Worcester will be like, we've got a game for A League on the Monday. I'd go back and train on the Friday, stay at Worcester over the weekend, play the Monday, drive back down the Monday night. Like
busy.
Yeah. But
Busy.
like the problem was because obviously I was an academy hooker. There were quite a lot of other hookers at the club, so it may well be that they don't realise they need me for a game until after the weekend's been played. So like, for example, they have a game on the Friday night. Let's say Friday Night Lights at Sale. First team hooker gets injured. Everyone moves up a step, and they'll have to make sure that they've got their two best hookers fresh for the next weekend. So it could be that thought I had the weekend off to chill with the lads, and then suddenly I'm playing on the Monday. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, but playing for Bath Uni was great. You know, Mark Lilly was the main coach of Aaron, both great boys. Like they always looked after me, and the training, mate. I think it's a really good level. I think uni rugby is a really
what is
good
the level like compared? Like now you can especially compare it to like the Premiership. What's that like?
Well, I definitely think playing the best teams is, I'd say it's near enough to champ. Like look at how many boys. Like I wouldn't say it's top of champ. I wouldn't say it's like the Elands. Like I wouldn't say it's up there, but I'd definitely say like it's a very good level. Because like if you look at how many people from universities have moved on to champ clubs or even prem clubs now, it's actually a silly amount.
Yeah, because a lot of rugby players do like to go to uni, like even if like you're doing, playing alongside or like moving on to like professional rugby after completing their degree. So it's definitely like a route that a lot of rugby players are taking, which is quite interesting. But
I also think it's an easier route for forwards than for backs, because I think backs, if they're special enough, are expected to break onto the stage 19, 20. Whereas the majority of forwards aren't expected to be physically developed enough until they're 22, 23, 24.
But I would counter that by saying, like, what about someone like Ted Hill, who you play with at Worcester? And how old was he when he made his England debut against Japan? 19?
He's a special case, though, isn't he? Let's be honest. He is an absolute unit.
What's it like with having him as captain of Worcester at such young age? That's quite like a out of the ordinary thing to happen.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's a good shout. You know, like I think he's always been a leader by example. Always has been. And I think he's going to be a leader at the club until he either decides to leave or until he finishes, because you know he's very much Worcester born and bred. And I think it's really good for so the whole picture, you know, all England clubs trying to paint. We want EQP players. We want our academy coming through. We want to base our club around our own homegrown players and bring them forward. And obviously that's something Worcester want to do as well. And I think to place their faith in Ted and say to him, we want you to be our captain, which I assume will continue for a long time,
years and years.
I'd expect it to, because I think he's doing a great job. I think it's good to. So we've got think it's good to give it to him now. I mean, when you say like captain, you expect he's doing everything, but there's a lot of different leadership teams, and so he doesn't take responsibility for absolutely everything going on at the club. But on field, he's captain, and it's good for. I think it's good development for him to take some leadership role. And I think it was a great choice. He's a great boy as well, to be fair.
Have you known him a long time, or?
Yeah, so obviously we're the same age. Played with each other since we're probably 14 at county level.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I remember when I was a bit smaller, under 17s, my dad was like, "If you want to make it, you need to start hanging out with Ted because he's massive."
So here you are. You've clearly been hanging out with him maybe a bit too much.
Shall we move on to talking? I think we wanted to talk a bit about like your England under-20s experience and like all like the England stuff you've done so far.
Yeah.
So obviously you played for England in the final for the under-20s World Cup, was it? We just like what was your best experience in that whole thing? Like with like obviously not great losing in the final, but what did you make? Did you have any like interesting stories about the tour or anything like that?
Interesting story about the tour. I'm sure there are a couple I can think of, but I started the best bit. The best bit was walking out onto the pitch, singing the anthem, and just it was absolutely full. Like it was
mental.
It was mental. Like it was the crowd was in full swing. Like singing some French song. I don't know what it is, but they're all waving French flags. It was just such a odd feeling because like this is something that I've always wanted to do. Walk out to a stadium full of people. Like everyone aims to play for England, which is something I definitely want to aspire to. And just to see a crowd and to hear the cacophony was just it was outrageous. It was just something out of a different world. It was just something very special. Any funny stories? It was actually quite a while ago now. It must have been 2 years.
Who did you share like rooms with?
Oh, so there was 6 of us. So I think I can't even remember.
A proper dorm situation. It's like boarding school.
Well, you should have seen where we were staying. So the way it works is so they have loads of different hotels in a country, and so in each group the top seed gets to pick a hotel in a certain area of the country, the best hotel. So obviously England had what was the year prior? Did they win it? No, they came 4th against. They lost to New Zealand, didn't they? Or was that in the final? I can't remember. But so they were the top pick in our seed. So it was just this. There were so many villas.
In this biggest place ever.
It was essentially like a chateau. It was yeah. So when I say 6 of us, like it was.
Who were the lads you were sharing with?
So Tom Willis.
Oh, yeah.
Henry Walker. I think Ted Hill. Was it James Scott? And was he Joe Hayes? I think that was the 6 of us. But then I think Henry moved at some point because
he didn't like you.
Yeah. Maybe. And then who replaced? I can't remember. But I remember spending a lot of time with James Kenny because obviously when I first went to England 20s, they just saw me as a bit of a drunkard, I think.
Why was that?
I guess the uni stereotype, hopefully.
Was it quite a different culture? Like, is it like on the same level, like drinking and stuff as at uni, or not at all?
No. But I didn't drink much at uni.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
compared to some. Max, looking at you.
I mean, we always had a couple after games, as you do. But it wasn't. I mean, it was more of a
social thing.
well,
Yeah.
Chilled out.
not the 20s. It was about the games, and it was focused on the next game. Really, I mean, we had a good night at the end of it all.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But everyone very much
Big
takes
celebration.
it really seriously. I
Yeah.
guess obviously compared
mean-
to any kind of like uni rugby.
I
or
mean,
whatever.
when you get to like at that point when you're 20, it's probably the pinnacle of what your rugby career has been so far. So everyone's
No,
just focused
100%.
So everyone's just focused on that, and everyone wants to win it, don't they? So
Yeah.
it was all about the next game and preparing yourself in the best way.
I guess everyone wants to impress as well.
Yeah.
So no one's gonna do anything stupid. Like you could probably arguably see more stupid stuff happening on like a senior England tour by like
Well, we have done, haven't we, in the past with Tuolangi and stuff in New Zealand, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, let's not go into that. I guess one thing I definitely want to ask you is kind of touching on both the university and the under-20s experience. Would be some of the players that you've played and anyone that stood out. Obviously, you spoke about Augustine Creevy and how difficult he was, I guess, at the scrum. But yeah, anyone that you've played, mainly at the under-20s, you played against that France team. They were pretty special. So anyone that stood out particularly to you that you were just like, this guy's unplayable?
I mean, obviously, Demba Ba was silly. It was silly. Tired.
Beast.
Who else is there?
Who were some of the names who played in that French team, Mackie?
They had
I think
Tama,
he.
Woki,
Woki was good.
Right.
Yeah, I mean they're all good. They won it, didn't they? But blimey, I can't even remember. I mean, at the time I was fighting it out to be on the bench of Gabriel Ogre, so I was more focused on us rather than the French.
Yeah, than the actual. It was crazy.
There was definitely a lot of them.
Yeah, it's crazy that team, that French team though. The number of them that have broken into the senior team, is insane.
And what about in the Premiership? Who is that one person apart from Augustine Creevy that you went like, oh, I want to play him, I want to hit him hard because I want to show him that I'm, here.
See, that's an interesting question. I mean, obviously I've got a lot of. I'd say I've got a lot of friends at different clubs from all the youth England teams. I mean,
Smithy. And
weirdly, I haven't actually played him yet.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. He was. I think he's being rested in the COVID game. I did like hitting. I liked going for Caden. That was good crack. I can't think of anyone else really.
Yeah. Well, shall we move on to a bit more about Worcester then? Because obviously, some massive name signings like Duhan van der Merwe, and I can't remember who else. You're definitely building like a
Chris Ashton.
Chris Ashton, as you're showing like from yesterday. How do you feel like with like the club progressing? Obviously, you touched on it earlier, but yeah, what do you think?
It's a really good thing for the fans and the players to hear like the intent that the owners and the coaches have with their signings. You know how it is. I mean, Duhan's a weapon, isn't he? To be honest,
he's scary.
He's good, he's good mates with one of the players at the club now, Cornell, and Cornell said he's a really good guy as well. But I think the signings were made really good, and Chris Ashton's been looking really sharp in training as well.
Nice.
But I think if you watched the game last night, I thought both the wingers played really well.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was also really good to see. They've basically said to the coaches, you can bring them in, but they're in form. And so I think there'll be some really good competition next year.
It could only be good for the club, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to bring in these signings because it pushes everyone else on to work harder. It pushes everyone else on to push each other and then I think that's think it's a really good environment for growth and development in the club. And I think bringing Chris Ashton's also really good because he's what now? He's 32, and
Got a lot of
he's got so much
experience.
experience. He's been with England so much, you know. He's been
Mm.
at so many different clubs, and he can pass that on to wingers,
Yeah.
back three players, you know, and he'll know a lot. And I think it'd be really really helpful for a lot of the boys, especially because we got.
What about
Sorry?
like your own personal growth? Like, is how's the club's is the club like really supportive? Like, are there any players who like mentor you or anything like that?
Yeah, so there's a mentor system. So I've worked with a few of the hookers. So I got on really well with Joe Tafte,
Mhm.
who's a
Yeah.
Leon now. So I got on really well with
Yeah.
him, and he helped me out a lot as well.
What,
Niall has
what
helped.
was that like? Was he just what kind of stuff did you do with him? Like, was it just
With,
like
with
mentoring,
him,
like practice? Like,
um, with him, it was more of like a getting used to being in a rugby environment. You know, obviously it's a job, but there's a lot of times when you're not picked, and there's a lot of times when something doesn't go your way in training or in game, and it's very easy. I mean, Max, and you know me, I'm quite an intense bloke, and it's very easy to lose. It's very easy to lose your head, and that will
sort
ruin
of
you
like prepping to
for the
help
whole
him.
day or the week or something. And he was very very good at, you know, just so when I was younger, I was very much if you're a hooker, I'm not gonna like you, because I was very much a position hater because I wanted to be the best. But I think he brought to light that we're all people, we'll have ups and downs. We're all trying to do our best. You know what I mean? And it's good to have everyone be your friends, because there's in a situation where everyone is trying to vie for a place in the team, and you want the team to win. There's no point having animosity on the pitch and when you're training. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So he brought a lot of, I'd say, like a life lesson on the rugby to me. And then I've done a lot of I do a lot of throwing with Niall and Isaac. So Niall's got unbelievable darts, and his set piece has always been pretty spot on. So he's helped me with that.
Did you ever train with Mackie? Max, and he used to say that he was renowned for his line out throwing arsenal. He used to brag about how he got taught by some ex-pro at club or something like that.
What? I did
You
not
say
say
that once,
that.
Mackie? I'm pretty sure you did.
Look how red he's gone. You can see it.
You literally used to brag. You used to brag about how good your handling was, how good your throwing was. But then you also said that you wanted to be a scrum half at one point because your passing was so good. You were like, yeah, both hands.
I
I've
played
got
scrum half for freshers, so
Ow, you're so fat, mate. Come on.
I don't know, Beck. Maybe I can throw a few darts as you one day and show you how it's done.
Yeah.
Show you how it's done. To be fair, Mackie did used to stand on, what was it, the 22 and just ping it at the crossbar.
Yeah, classic crossbar hang.
Do you do that, Beck? Is that like a common training exercise or just something
No.
people do for fun?
No, this was more for fun. It's more for fun. It's more for like a competition rather than a training.
I don't think I could throw it halfway to the crossbar, to be honest. These little dweeby arms.
It's what the best players do. Beck, maybe we can have a little competition after. You can record yourself throwing 10 darts from the halfway line, try and hit the crossbar,
Yeah,
and I'll do the same.
From the halfway line.
Yeah, and then, and then we'll go against
No
each
run up.
other.
No run up.
No run up. See, with these
Wait,
massive
so
arms, no chance.
Beck, there was one person I wanted to ask you about. Like, I class myself as a bit of a blues fan from Auckland, because that's one of the only
Okay.
places in New Zealand I've been.
Yeah.
And now one person, Mackie and I used to watch. We used to get up at like 6:30 on a Saturday morning and watch the Blues play because we were absolutely gassed for New Zealand rugby.
And you
And
start having beers as well, or?
Yeah, always.
Always, mate, in the boarding house, yeah, the whole time. And one person who we just loved to watch was Milani Nanai.
Yeah.
And obviously he's someone who plays for Worcester, so I wanted to get your thoughts on him, basically.
He's a great bloke. Very funny, and he's got an unbelievable side step, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's something it's something like when he runs, you're like, he's actually really quite big as well.
Is
Like
he?
he's quite tall. Like and
He looks so lanky though on the
Nah,
telly.
Guys.
Yeah, but like it's just some of them are just outrageous, aren't they? Yeah, he's a really good guy. I play a lot of COD with him actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you a big-
Xbox or PlayStation?
Well, he's on PC now, but I'm
Oh, he's a proper
PlayStation.
gamer.
Yeah. Well, he's
Wait.
just moved across, so I've been carrying him on my back for a while now. But nah,
Wait, what other games do you play? Do you play Apex?
I don't play Apex, no.
Just
Oh.
Warzone.
Actually, so my mates in the house, we all used to play Fortnite together, so we still play that every now and then as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Victory
Apex.
Royale.
Yeah.
What's your KD on COD then?
Oh, not too big.
Not too big.
I think it's like 1.3 now.
That's better than me. I think I'm about a 1. I haven't played COD in ages though. I get too frustrated. It's like FIFA and COD. I just rage.
Struggle with FIFA.
So Beck, where do you live now? Do you live in Worcester, and do you live with players or?
Yeah. So recently I just bought my own house.
That's mad.
So
Congrats.
two of my best mates are renting with me, so I give them cheap rent and they help me pay my mortgage.
Sick.
Yeah, so I live
Good
with two
setup.
boys. I'm not sure if they're both awake yet. I think they're still sleeping in.
Oh, lucky buggers.
So one of them was Nick David, and he played for Lady, so I'd sleep in as well.
Well, you did have your 10-minute cameo in the first half as well, Beck.
Well, I had like 1 minute cameo.
Yeah.
We were like, Beck's on, and then we were like, Beck's off.
Beck's on quite early. He's going off again.
It was one of them ones. I was looking at the clock. I was like, all right, so there's 2 minutes left. Do you reckon I'm gonna get on? I was like, nah. So I sat back down, and then there was a knock on, and I kind of didn't even realize what there was a knock on. And Niall was like, Beck, you're on now, and I was there like, what? Like, there's a scrum. I was like, oh, yeah, I want to go on
for the scrum.
I thought there was going to be another reset, and I was like, so I'm going to do 2 scrums, I'm going to reset it, and I'm going to have to go off, and now I was going to come on for the 3rd reset.
Oh yeah, because there was like no time left on the sim bin.
Yeah.
Bit of confusion. The other thing I wanted to ask about Worcester was specifically to do with Ollie Lawrence.
Yeah.
And the main question I wanted to ask was, obviously having someone like that going on and doing so well, playing for England, how does that affect the squad and the squad mentality, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's really good. So there's always been that stigma around Worcester. I wouldn't say this year, but I'd say over the last few years, that if you're at Worcester and you're a really good player, you're never going to make it in the England squad and you need to leave. There's always been that stigma. Like, it's the same for London Irish, and some other, like a couple other clubs, like maybe Newcastle Falcons. But I think it's just showing a lot of the players that you can stay at Worcester and still make it, which I think is really good, because I think a lot of people leave, and there's a lot of other really good young talented players at Worcester. I think if they stay, then I think we can move on up the table.
Yeah.
I think we can really start fighting for top 6 and beyond. Do you know what I mean?
Do you see yourselves doing that this season?
I mean, I think this season's going to be hard. I think it's doable. I mean, essentially points wise, it's still doable. But I mean, we've had a lot of new coaches in, and we'll see how it goes on the podcast, Nick. Yeah. He's just waking up. So yeah, I definitely think it's doable, and I mean, I think Ollie's a good bloke. He's a really good guy, and he's not, you always worry sometimes that when a really young player who he is good and he knows he's good, but he isn't like bad about it. Do you know what I mean? Like he's completely.
He's not cocky about it.
No, I mean, I went to school with him at Bromsgrove, and he's definitely grown up a lot since those days. And then, I mean, when he goes away, like I think I think we're still in a good place. You know, like if you watched Ollie Lawrence over the last few games,
Yeah, he had a
he's
great game yesterday.
he's been so good. So I think having Ollie in the England squad has been really good for the club. I mean, like, definitely helps. Like, the fans love it. Players are all happy for him. Like, he's a good guy. Yeah, so I think it's positive.
Yeah, I think Worcester are definitely on like an up. Like we have a bit of a joke where Ed or Maxim once said like Saints were on the up, and then they went on a massive losing streak.
This was just before COVID, and they got to like the quarterfinals of the Champions Cup, and we were like, oh yeah, Maxim was like Northampton are on the up, and I was, and then they went on some, you know,
They lost like 10 games in a row.
Yeah. I can actually genuinely see Worcester. Like,
so we hope you're not cursed
I'm
with.
touching wood.
Yeah, so am I. We hope we're not cursing you with the Much Ado About Rugby jinx, I guess. But no, with the money that the club's invested, hopefully we'll see Worcester climbing out the table, because it's hard to hate Worcester.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to hate a lot.
Rugby.
It's hard to hate a lot of rugby teams. I mean, I'm a really big Quins fan. Max is a really big Sarries fan, and Mal decided to support Quins a few days ago when he was like, I don't actually support a team. Who should I pick? So I guess,
Worcester,
I guess to kind of wrap it up a tiny bit, one or two more questions would be, where are Worcester going to come this season?
A number.
What
position?
Be brave, Beck. Be brave.
Let me look at the table.
Okay, so I think don't look at the table. You won't like it.
The thing is, it's so tight.
I think we're 11th, aren't we?
Yeah. So it
so
could be
tight at
worse.
the bottom. It's so tight, like
I think
not far off Bath, I think.
I thought Bath. You said Bath were on the up, and then now look where they are.
This squad is so good. I'm gonna
go 6th or 7th.
Nice.
That's why I definitely.
See it happening.
Yeah.
Is that hopeful, or is that?
I mean, at the moment, there's only 8 points difference, and there's a few games to go. So
yeah.
And I think if we carry on playing the way we did last night, but maybe a couple less penalties, then games will start going our way.
Exactly. And finally, where do you see yourself going in, let's say, the next 5 or 10 years as your career progresses? What are you pushing for personally? I know it's such a difficult question, but just maybe some small goals for yourself that you set yourself. It can be like for next week, or where you see yourself in the next few years.
I mean, the aim for me is to keep progressing at Worcester. I mean, obviously, I'd love to be the first choice hooker starting week in, week out. I mean, that's definitely a goal within the next, however many years it may take, but obviously the sooner the better. And then I'd like to, obviously, as you asked me, do I want to win the Premiership or do I want to play for England? I mean, I'd love to win the Premiership with Worcester. Like, it's my team, it's my home team, and loads of my friends play here. And that would be definitely something in the next 4, 5, 6 years, like extra-esque, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I'd love to do. And then obviously everyone wants to play internationally. I'd love to play for England. Whether it's a 1 cap a minute off the bench, or if it's starting to actually play for them, I don't
like
mind.
Tom Dunn.
Yeah, but he's a good player. He is.
Yeah. No, I think there's definitely something to work towards that. I mean, you've done it at under 20s level. There's no reason why you can't go on and do it at the top level. So we wish you all the best on your rugby travels and your excursions on and off the pitch. So thank you so much for coming on, Beck. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Unlucky with the loss yesterday, but just come out next week. And who are you playing next week, by the way? Tigers. Show Leicester what you got. Yeah. And yeah, that's about all we got time for, I think. But thank you so much again, and stay safe.
Perfect. All right. Catch you guys soon.
We hope you enjoyed that episode with BECK Cutting. It was great to record with him, and he had some really interesting insights on the England U20s, as well as Worcester's future potential in the Premiership. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as follow our Instagram at Much Ado About Rugby. In next week's episode, we continue our Rugby Around the World series. We'll be talking to someone from the US. We'll be chatting everything about rugby in the US, how the game is developing over there, not only in 7s, but also in 15s. So be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more exclusive rugby content. Rugby.